Hey y'all, today we're going to talk about a couple of new products over here at Chareco Sewing Machines. We just brought in 2 lines of beautiful 100% cotton thread. The brick orange one here is 100% cotton, and the green one in my hand now is 100% mercerized cotton. We're going to set the machine up with a number 6 nipple and a number 5 needle. So it looks like in here I've got a chenille needle installed, so we're going to go ahead and remove that by gripping the needle in a pair of pliers, unscrewing the needle bar, and I'm going to use a number 5 needle from Schmetz, the 253C needle, or number 110. So it's number 5 or number 110, depending on how your needles are listed. Grab onto the needle and rotate the needle bar so we get a nice snug fit there. Whoops. This is a number 6 needle, so we're going, a number 6 nipple, so we're going one size larger than the needle to accommodate for the size of the thread. Sure, our needle's nice and clean. Give it a little wipe. Tilt the machine back in the table, and we'll show you how to run the thread from behind, over, and between the tension discs here. You can see that under the little finger, and then through the take-up spring. I previously had this machine set up for chenille with some pretty large thread, so I'm realizing here that I had the needle plate set to the 8th hole, but for this we're going to use the number 6. These are some little stop collars that I sell on the website. It was keeping me from pushing the needle all the way down to make sure that it's centered in the needle hole before I reach under the machine and tighten the needle plate thumb screw. So that's sort of off camera, that's what's going on there. Didn't really use the stop collar in the video too much. I should have just taken it off, but I didn't. So the threading wire goes through the front plate of front hole of the needle plate to thread the machine, and we bring that 100% cotton thread up through front hole of the needle plate. I'm going to adjust my needle height. This affects how much thread is pulled up through the machine and adjust the aesthetic of your line weight. So I'm just getting started stitching here. I'm going to do some adjustments to get the right aesthetic that I want. So like I mentioned before, I had this machine set up for doing chenille. So I just lengthened the stitch length by adjusting the stitch length screw, and I realized that my looper was still set to chenille stitch, so I reached under the machine and changed it back to chain stitch. You can see there's a couple of skip stitches and inconsistencies at the beginning of the stitch line there, and so we solved that by making sure that the looper and worm gear were in the right timing. So anytime I start sewing with a new thread, I will adjust the thread tension, which is here. So if you turn it over and away from yourself, that's less tension. If you turn it over and towards yourself, that's more tension. Generally what I'll do when I start working with the new thread is I will reach under the machine with one hand and back off the tension until I start getting a couple of skip stitches, and then I'll slowly increase the thread tension as I'm sewing. Rule of thumb for most sewing machines is that you often want to use the least amount of tension possible to get a consistent stitch. It keeps your material from puckering or your thread from breaking. A couple of different reasons to do it. So I've got this area that I want to fill in here, so I'm going to raise the needle bar to bring more thread up through the needle plate, which creates a fatter stitch. You could think of it as going from a fine home Sharpie to a bold Sharpie, or if you're using like micron illustration pens, increasing your pen size from a 0.05 to a 0.07 or something like that. Cool. So here's how this stitch looks with that brick orange. Like I was mentioning before, this is where I started stitching, so I flipped the looper to the correct timing position and started to mess with my tension a little bit here. Skipped stitches was from not enough tension on the thread, and just dial it in slowly. Anytime you're switching textiles or switching threads, you're probably going to need to do some light adjustments on your machine. So this is the 100% mercerized cotton thread that we're selling. The mercerization process makes the cotton fibers stronger. It swells and shortens them, which also adds this really beautiful lustrous sheen to the thread. So they're both 100% cotton, but the mercerized or Suisse thread has this really beautiful high sheen quality.
Whoa!
I adjusted my needle bar to be a little bit too low here, so the needle wasn't coming all the way out of the material, and so we jammed up a little bit. And I noticed that as I was continuing to sew here, after the needle jamming, we actually continued to get some pretty bad stitch inconsistencies. So I've got some skipped stitches here, or just like kind of blowout and pucker, I noticed. So, when that starts to happen, usually what I'll do is just remove the needle and make sure that I didn't break the tip or create a burr on the hook or anything like that. Make sure that the needle didn't come loose in the needle bar. And pretty frequently you'll find that just making sure your needle is good and clean. The thread was stuck in the nipple there, that's why I couldn't get the needle back down. Just making sure that your needle's in good shape and nothing's clogged in the face of the machine. Pretty surefire way to get the old girl sewing well again. So that's all we did there, and it started, sewing up a storm. Like my mentor Greg would say, started sewing like a house on fire. So we're just going to go back to the 100% cotton C-cord. The C-cord refers to the size of the thread. So C-cord is the same thing as a 216, which is 2 ply of 16 cotton count thread. Kind of an antiquated system, but basically what it means is that there's 16 840-yard lengths on a 1-pound spool of thread. Weird system, but that's what it means. So we're calling this thread C-cord. That's how it's listed in the Ruth Franklin books. So, when in doubt, refer to Ruth. So here we go. Pretty nice stuff. I hope you'll give it a try.